mindset,
Yeah.
we certainly would welcome them.
Sure. One thing I know that will help is the endorsement committee is going to be meeting to revise the process. So I can't tell you what that is yet because they haven't met, but they are going to be looking at that. And I know some of the consternation came from they didn't understand the process. In the beginning, when it's a primary, the candidates do have to ask for the endorsement. So unless they ask, they can't get endorsed. Where after the primary, anybody can make the motion to endorse. So it's very different how the functioning of it works, but they want to look at it we want it to be something that makes sure it works for everybody. You know, there's always going to be people who are not going to like it. There's no way to please everyone, but it's definitely being looked at, and there's going to be lots of feedback on how we can revise that. So
The line of thinking that, and it's well known, that candidates have to ask for it.
yeah,
But it's also the general consensus that party leadership needs to go bend way over backwards and go to those campaigns and say, hey, just a reminder, Mike Flood,
Sure.
or whoever, you need to request.
sure.
And if the party did that, we don't know it.
Yeah, and there was attempts made. It's just some of them didn't want to, and so that's why it never happened. But for neither here nor there were requests and people pushed the information out, but the candidates at that time prior to the primary had chose not to. So
I like the comment I heard earlier that we should be a party that the candidates want to receive our endorsement.
Yes.
sure, absolutely, I
I
agree.
like that.
I agree. But no, it's not falling on deaf ears, John. Just know that it's going to be revised. I can't exactly say what that will be since I'm not the chairman of that committee, but it's definitely going to be. Right now it's Mary Jane Trumper.
Okay.
Yep. So she's already taken a lot of feedback after the endorsement process in, I think it was Hastings is when we did the endorsement. And so she's looking at different people who want to give feedback. If you're interested, she's happy to talk with you and kind of give that feedback. So, yeah.
Having lunch with her Monday.
Great, even better. I'll give her that feedback. So, all right, we'll go to the next one. Kind of already talked about those. I don't want to just keep harping on stuff because we will get to the more educational, but I wanted to make sure not to go too quickly to make sure everybody had a chance to kind of share. But I think this one would be important. We've mentioned a few things like the youth. I think that's an opportunity to engage and to really grow your party. But is there any other things that you guys think of that maybe is an opportunity, but you may not have the resources right now to be able to accomplish what you want? Margot, and then we'll go here.
Okay, well, Trina and I met yesterday anyway, and began to talk about this because we thought, okay, so what opportunities do we have?
Yep.
The more obvious ones, I just wrote these down, were like at the county fairs.
Yep.
Things like that. We do have a VFW that we usually hold our meetings there.
Yep.
They're very receptive to having us come in.
Good.
We also learned that not only does Stanton have a little paper, a newspaper that they publish weekly, Pilger also does.
Yep.
Who-knew? Anyway, so those were some opportunities for us. We also, Trina cited, okay, there's public meetings all the time of like the Corn Council, the soybean, whatever, all those different things. And we can certainly show up there, with our stuff. So these are some different things that we certainly thought about. Just from this particular meeting today, it brought into my head again, we have a very large Hispanic contingent in our entire county, and so does Madison County.
Yep. So no, I'm working on it. That's something that I've already got going. We're going to start a Hispanic
we've had
Latino
things,
coalition.
and we've reached out to them, and we've had like maybe one person come. I think a lot of times, they might feel like Dana was saying, we're this closed-in little crazy group that wears tinfoil hats. But anyway, one thing I did notice is that we never offered to provide a translator or someone who would, would help to bridge that communication gap. So I'm just kind of thinking that this might be another thing that we could do.
Absolutely.
Our opportunities are kind of limitless. On the other hand, our resources are very finite at this point.
I'll give a quick example of how, and anybody else that maybe has ever worked with a different constituency group. In Omaha, Mark Bonkowitz, a lot of you know from Nebraskans for Founders Values, he, back before Nebraskans for Founders Values started, this is really the impetus and why he started it. It was the sex standards way back, and the schools in Omaha were going to try to implement that. So he got people in the South Omaha area, which is very heavily Hispanic and Latino, to then get together. But it took somebody in the community who was already embedded, that people trusted, to then get people to want to come and to join. And so that's the biggest thing that he found is We've got to build relationships with people there. Now you can help work with that group to then start it and to run events and that, but you've got to find somebody they trust to help grow and get people recruited. And so that's what he did, and had hundreds of people show up to the school board meeting to testify against the sex standards when they were bringing them up in schools. So
What person did he identify, or were they already identified?
I don't remember exactly how he knew the person, but he knew a family that was well known and had lots of connections, and because their connections, they got other people, and then they got more people, and they got more people, and so it's just kind of spreading the word and finding somebody that's willing to dedicate to that cause, and that knows people, and so.
We were headed in the right direction. I think
Absolutely.
we just didn't stick with it
Yep.
long enough. So.
Well, and there's definitely going to be a focus. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do it. I'm actually meeting with our national committee man and woman this next Friday to talk about the Hispanic and Latino coalition. It's based on Turning Point USA's model, actually, because they have coalitions they've already built. And so they've given me a whole workbook manual. There's some grants we can apply for. And so I've just got to, in my head, figure out how we can do it and find leaders within the communities, because I can't do it myself. I've got to equip people in those communities that are willing to help, but I'm willing to guide and talk through and strategize how that happens. And so it's going to take a little time, but I'm hoping to really hit the Omaha area for sure. And then Grand Island has a big population, and now knowing Schuyler does too, would be another great area to hit, because if we can engage those people, they're Republican minded. They're conservative leaning individuals. They fit the Republican platform. We just got to let them know, because most don't know. They've been told by Democrats are the party of the non-white, right? Or the ethnically diverse people, and it's not true. It's the Republican Party that's really the conservative minded. They align in their values. So, yes. I've already done the research. I pulled it last week. It's from the Census Bureau. That's where you got to find it. Yep. So I have it broken down by each LD, and that's how I knew that Omaha's LD 5 and 7 are 42 and 44%, and out in Hall County, I think they're 42% as well in their LD. Yep. So it's heavy population. So, and knowing Schuyler as a town is 75% or more, I don't know what the LD would be, but I'm sure it's still really high, especially because the one community is very heavily populated. So it's definitely an avenue, and that's that other coalition of getting people excited and involved. So, yeah.
The one thing I would say is, like, one of the opportunities that we have is there's this big, like, hole of nothingness that's going on in Butler that
Sure.
there was never any debates. There's never anything, and no, like, we don't have a Democrat Party to speak of, right? There's no one. So the fact that we just got a Republican Party started,
Yep.
getting debates, like, that's a huge opportunity for our party to really gain some ground with a lot of just normal people in the county, because we have the same problem as Seward as we had what we called DDS. So one of our people ran for an office, and his name was Dave, and he had Dave derangement syndrome because there was people that were like, oh, this is gonna be awful, No one really knew, like, none of your normal people knew. So just getting those, I think we could really hold up the community by just hosting debates, hosting sort of stuff that no one does. And
Except the League of Women Voters.
And then we also have people, like, we also have groups part of David City, David City area, that are now starting to help us with that. Like, there's this group called the Friends of David City. They're like, oh yeah, we'll help with you guys. So that it was kind of during a general, so that the Republicans wouldn't have to host a general party election, because
Sure.
when you have Democrats involved, it's not as good to have the Republicans themselves do it. But if the Republicans help the Friends of David City, well, there you go. Now you just have a nonpartisan group that you could really host an election. And just doing that as a Republican Party, I've already seen it, has just really started to make us know. Because that's the other thing we have to do. People have to know we're there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's what I'd say.
Great. Go ahead.
Some in our group have taken the initiative to set up some candidate forums.
Yes.
It's not always Democrats involved, it might be Republicans, but get to know the candidates. And
Yep.
And then connected with the local paper and radio station, and they kind of took it over, and so there was a great attendance, and met at the college.
Awesome.
It went very well, and got some more activity, and
Yep.
more people were involved to do the door hanging and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
We got a lot of them elected too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a big undergirding. I always am that guy that tries to look for the themes that I'm hearing, and a lot of it is just hosting events to make sure people know you exist in your county and to make them fun. And people, I think, for a long time have thought of the Republican Party as very stiff and non-inclusive or welcoming, maybe. Doesn't mean we're compromising our values, but people have to know we want you to come in and we want you to feel welcome. And just doing things in your community, like you had mentioned, whether it's forums or debates or just even a booth at the fair, we got to do more things so people know that we exist, and that's a great way. Other opportunities we can take advantage of. So, okay, I know it's almost break time. If there's anything else, I was going to go to this one here, and then we'll take a break, because then the next section we'll talk about some more of the action items. What can we do? We're going to educate you on some information on how you can take that to your county or to your area and then really start to make a difference. So this one here is what maybe are 2 to 3 actions that your county could take to get to that next level, and maybe it's you haven't done that because you don't have the resources, the knowledge, the training you need to then actually do that.
All of the above.
All of the above. Fair enough, fair enough. Anything else, though, that you guys would like to do if you knew how, or maybe if you had the resources you needed to do that? I know we've talked about a lot of these, so some of them are blurring together, which is fine, but wanted to see if there's anybody else that had anything else. Yeah.
I would say for Butler, the main thing we have to work on right now is I think we should campaign with the candidates we endorse. For one,
Okay.
like endorsements for us really don't matter. No one cared. And that's partly because the Butler County Republican Party, I don't know who those people are, right? That's the kind of thought process. But if we provide support for the candidates who we endorse, I think that can really help us become relevant and help those candidates get elected. So, I've walked doors. I've walked doors with candidates before. I know my chairman has, but no one else in the party has really done anything with elections. They haven't really, maybe in the last 20 years or so, but really getting people motivated in the party and just around the community to, hey, let's go walk doors. Let's go put up signs. Who do we know that would put up a sign right on a highway so that everyone can see their name? Stuff like that. So I think that's where we can take, one of the things that we can do next.
I forgot to mention too, when you say yard signs, youth love to put up yard signs. That's an easy one for them to do. So if you're trying to engage people, have your candidates keep track of all the different houses that have said they want a yard sign and make it a day of action and assign a couple addresses to a group and have them go out and start putting yard signs in. It's an easy way to free your candidates up to continue their door knocking, and they're not spending their time doing yard signs, because we want to free them up to do as much interaction with the people in the community as they can, and sometimes yard signs takes away from that. So, anything else? Yeah.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
The state GOP maybe set up like a mapping software program that would kind of help us save time knowing where the registered Republicans are.
Good question. We're going to talk about that today. It already exists. Yep. It's something that just hasn't been utilized maybe by some of the people outside of the really urban areas of Lincoln and Omaha. But my goal is to help every county party in the whole entire state that wants to use it. It's available. It's free for you to use. We want you to use it. It's incredibly important how much information you can get. So if I wanted to go home and find out how old you are, I could do it. So it's kind of fun to spy on people too. So it's another reason to use it. Yes, good question. What else? We'll go Marcella. Yeah.
I just want to add something. I have to leave. But
Sure.
I think one of the things that I see here in Schuyler, we have, like you said, most of the kids that go to school, we have a high number of Hispanic people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, there's so many people, they don't get the right information.
Yep.
So they always think that if you go through, you like Trump, you're a racist. You don't like.
Right.
Yeah, that's the word that they use. Okay, you don't feel free to put a sign at your door.
Right.
Because then you're labeled as, oh yeah, you think you're white or what? Why you're supporting Trump?
Right, yeah.
Things like that.
Yep.
And unfortunately, here in Schuyler, I think our Hispanic leaders, they're pretty much like activists for Democrat
Yep.
people.
Sure.
I don't know if you see the news, but like 3 weeks ago, I think, it was a rumor They said that they were deporting people, their parents were afraid. So we have many, I don't know, it was a big number of students in this school because they were supporting, they would have immigrants and like, why they don't get the right information, you know?
Yep.
It's like they thought that they were gonna deport all the immigrants, that you don't like immigrants, if you were,
Right.
if you support Trump, you don't like Hispanic people.
Yep.
They get all this misinformation and
Right.
unfortunately, the people believe those things, you know? And finally, I think it was just a rumor, but it's like, who started these rumors? I think it's the same people that are doing their Hispanic, leaders.
Yep.
That brought the news here. It's like, okay, so first, if you're gonna bring a news channel to do a report of something, you need to have the facts, you know?
Absolutely.
They're like, they can just spread rumors and scare people instead of, okay, you have this position as a Hispanic leader, then you need to tell them, help them how to become citizens, you know?
Yep.
Give them the tools, not just spread rumors and no, don't go outside because they're gonna get
Yep.
your family, close your business, or do
Yep.
this, or do that. So, that's my 5 cents.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's good.
Well, that's very, very important information, and you actually hold a key to a lock that we haven't been able to figure out how to unlock yet, right? And you have a lot of information, and I'm sure that Joe's gonna wanna stay in touch with you.
Absolutely.
And help identify other leaders in your community that are like-minded to you as well. Because I don't know if it's gonna take coming to the churches and having maybe, workshops like this in the churches, but we have to have bilingual Hispanic people basically stepping up into leadership and communicating the message to these folks that Trump is not bad and that Trump supporters are not racist, and we have to focus in on our faith, our family values, because from my experience, every Hispanic family I know, family is very important to
Yes,
them,
yes.
and they're trying to raise God-loving, God-fearing children, and like he said earlier, that we match up on our
Yeah, but
values.
I don't know somehow, but you know, it's like, okay, I don't know. Yeah. I think churches became activism too, sometimes.
That's very true.
You know, you
Yep.
go to church to listen to the word of God, and you know, and you end up listening to, oh yeah, you need to do this, and the poor lady that doesn't have this, or we are gonna, whatever, I don't know. I don't even know what to put as an example. But sometimes you're like, is that what I came to listen? I mean, I can just
Right.
turn the TV and change a channel to one of the, you know, Democrats meetings, whatever, you will listen the same thing that you listen to church.
Yep.
So that's so sad too, you know, because most of the groups that go to church, okay, so if you're against illegal immigration, then you're a sinner.
Right.
Everything is the opposite now, you
Right.
know? Because you're not have compassion or what? It's like, no, I don't think those are the rules that are established. You know, you need to follow the law, follow the
Yep.
rules. And God's will is to, you know, follow the truth. So you're lying first because you're doing something that is not correct.
Yep.
But then here, you're the one with, or the evil, because you're punishing the people. But at the same time, it's like, it's your choice to do those things,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. I'll respond to that, and then I know you wanted to say something here too.
The thing I wanna follow up on that, I'm, with the Legion, we're coming onto a boys state, girls state education thing that, I think the Republican Party could key a lot on.
Yep.
But, in our community of Schuyler, we're having trouble breaking that community to understand what boys state and girls state is all about.
Yep.
And it's an education process for those high schoolers to get a touch of the government. And it's so important that the parents, and maybe it's gonna take another 10 years to grow this through, but the parents do not understand what that's all about. And how to communicate that to the parents is really tough.
And that is where I got my start with Boy State. That's really where my interests really flourished in getting involved politically. I had parents that were involved and always followed the news and that kind of stuff, but that really lit my fire. It was actually part of the press release whenever I was announced as being the political director. So that's something that you've got to find people who've done it, I think, to communicate the importance of it and why it's so valuable.
You know, Clinton was a Boy Stater. There are so many leaders that started that way, just like what you said.
Absolutely.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, see, and that's the other thing, is it's just got to be more well known. I can respond to that. I want to respond to Marcella real quick before she has to go, but this document here is in Spanish. We have a Spanish version. I can send this to you. This is the platform, and it shows the difference between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. This is super important to share with people because they do not understand why they're Republicans or really why the Democrat Party is lying to them. And I think what it will take, and obviously we'll be in contact and we can talk more about it because I know you talked about being in Schuyler too. It's building a counter narrative. That's why Charlie Kirk's been so successful. He's talked to the youth and really explained to them what you've been told in school is not true. What you've been communicated with in terms of the history of the United States, we're racist and we're, this bigoted country, it's not true. And so it's gonna take a group of people, and it's unfortunate that a lot of the churches aren't doing this, but it's gonna take even people building groups outside of the church to then grow a body of people to help educate, hey, that's not what this is, that's not how things work. And so it may take a separate group outside the churches in Schuyler to help them to understand you align with the Republican Party. What you're being taught in school and what the community is telling you with these activists, we've got to have a counter narrative to it. Once again, I always think that if we're not moving forward, we're moving backwards. So we've got to start taking action, otherwise it's just going to keep sliding one way. And so those activists have a foothold, but doesn't mean that you can't take that foothold out. It's just you got to have a counter to it, and people will start to wake up as they learn that there is a counter narrative, and that, oh, I was being told a lie, or I wasn't hearing the whole truth on what was going on.
Well,
So
what you're seeing on news now, it should be, with all of it coming out, we have that chance right now
yes,
for the next 2 years, because everything's coming out the way the Republicans said, and with all the crap that the Democrats are whining about, why would I want to be part of that party?
yep.
So we actually have a good position at this point for the next 2 years.
And it's using statistics and stuff. I mean, it's a very similar thing to the African American population. Trump did better with African Americans than most Republicans have done in years because they've realized under his leadership they did better. And people even in New York City, where it's mostly all liberal, realize and are waking up. I mean, who would have thought to go to New York City and do a rally? Trump's about the only person I know that could ever pull that off. And it was packed. People are starting to really understand that the Republican Party is the one that's welcoming of everybody, and we just got to start giving some of that statistics and that facts out there so people really understand. So, but yes, we'll stay in contact for sure, because that's a definite area we need to hit, is that pocket, and a lot of it's going to be trial and error. We're going to have to figure it out. We're going to fail. We're going to try things and they're going to work, but we're going to have to work through it together.
Joe, can we get those sheets just
Yeah.
by letting you know?
No, you're gonna log in and download it and print it right off in your house. And you're gonna have access to it.
Yes, we're going to get them to you. Yes, we'll get them to you.
But that shiny paper is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So what we'll do now, we'll take a little break. I know we've kind of gone at it for a while. I wanted to get an idea of where everybody was at. This has been helpful for me, hopefully helpful for all of you to understand how other counties function and what their strengths are, maybe where their weaknesses are. Take a little break, go to the bathroom, get some coffee, and then we'll come back and actually now start talking about some actionable things, and we'll equip you with some tools that you can start using to do some of the things you guys have talked about. So we'll take a 5-10 minute break here and then we'll come back.